Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mama Christine's podcast, Living Life Through Experience, because that's how we learn, right? Everything we do in life is an experience, and it is a learning lesson. And that's what we're here to talk about every week. And here we are, I believe it's week 8, and it's like, wow, time is flying by, and I'm having so much fun doing this, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I do. And of course, it's Thursday, so it's Thankful Thursday. So gratitude to all of you, to God, the angels, everybody who allows me to do what I'm doing right now. It is an amazing thing to be able to get up every day and say, I'm going to work, because it doesn't feel like work. This is something that I love and I enjoy, and it's my passion, and just love it. Love it, love it, love, 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 love. Anyway, as usual, per usual, we always start off with a card, right? We got to have a message. So what are we talking about today? Let's say we're talking about emotions. So emotions are connected to our chakras. So let's go with that and see what the divine beings have to say today. Oh, love this. Okay. Cut the deck. Boom. Here we go. Oh, all right. Sorry, all the lighting there. Expansion. Okay. So one, it's blue, and that's perfect for today because what I want to talk about has all to do with the throat chakra. So expansion means that when you decide to open up and speak your truth with integrity, say what you need to say anything and everything that you need to do, that opens you up to so much more because you're living a life of truth. I'm not talking about talking truth and talking lies and things like that. I'm talking about you personally. In your journey, your feelings, your body, your mind, your soul, you are speaking your truth. You are creating boundaries. You're setting limits. You are growing. You are healing. You are moving on. That's expansion. And that's what we're here to do today. So if you've been feeling like something needs to change in my life, something needs to happen, something needs to heal, I need to let go, whatever it may be, that's your sign right there. So let's talk about it. Feelings. I'm going to start back in the day, way back in the day. I'm going to go with my grandparents, okay? Now, mind you, I'm 57, so my grandparents would have been about 100 and... Oh my. My grandmother now would have been 112 years old. So you're talking, she was born 1912, and basically it was around the time of the Titanic. Been through both world wars, all the different kinds of craziness, cars, right? Televisions, telephones. So mind you, think way back then, okay? And of course in history you learn about this, I'm sure. And if you don't, that's sad. But anyway, think about this. What were people's emotions back in those days? Now, if you don't know, let me explain. So back in those days, men ran everything, women followed, women didn't work, women only held the household together and had children. That was their job. Men worked, did their thing, they provided for their families. That's how it was done back then. If you were upset about something that was too bad, suck it up, basically. This is how it is, and stop whining and stop crying and stop complaining. If you were a man or a boy, there was no whimpering and whining and all that stuff. It was suck it up, be a man, be strong, and get over it. So think about how much repressed emotion, okay, was then there, right? Crazy. So it's like, wow. So now look at your grandparents, okay? And of course your grandparents may not be as old as mine, but I look back now on who my grandparents were. And luckily for me, my grandfather was a very gentle soul. He really was. He was a church-going man, very gentle soul, never swore. Oh my God, it was so funny. Like, of course, but that's how they were brought up. You don't swear. And I think the only word he ever said was hell. And of course, even me as a kid, that was considered a swear, but it's not really a swear. And that's about the extent of what came out of his mouth. And that's usually because when people drove up and down the road too fast, he would say, "Oh my God, these people driving like bats out of hell," right? And that was the extent of it. So very quiet, very whatever. I don't think he had the greatest upbringing, childhood. I'm not really positive on that. But just some of the stories I heard, they were very poor. So there's a lot of farm life and a lot of work and so on and so forth. And again, emotions were not to be shown. You suppress them, shut up, and it's like put a Band-Aid on that and get back to work kind of thing. My grandmother grew up completely Portuguese, and I know different cultures have their different ways of doing things as well. So I'm sure between tradition and culture, society's thinking, religious thinking, all of that, you did what you were supposed to do, and that was the end of it, whether you liked it or not. So today I can look back and say, okay, now I understand why they were the way they were. My grandmother could be a little tough. She could be a little hypocritical at times, a little judgy. And, it was what her beliefs were, though, so I can't knock her down for that. Was it right? Probably not, because I think we have elevated as beings in such a way over the past 100 years of sit down and shut up and just deal with it to what can I do for you and how are you feeling? You know what I mean? Big change. So yeah, could it have been avoided? Of course it could have. Could have gone different ways? Of course it could have, but that's what they knew and that's what they did. Now you move up to my parents, basically the same thing, men are not supposed to have emotions, okay? They're not supposed to cry. If you have feelings, keep them to yourself. I think my dad did pretty well growing up, but of course he grew up under the same thought processes that his parents had. And is it tough? Yeah, it can be. Excuse me, I've had massive allergy things going on, so it's giving me this crazy cough, and it's every once in a while it's wants to rear its ugly head and drive me crazy. But anyway, so my dad did pretty well. He grew up, he was a strong man. He was very much for his family. He worked to provide. He met my mom, and when they got married, she stayed home. She didn't work because he was like, I make enough money, which wasn't a hell of a lot of money, but for them, it's I make enough that you can stay home. And that ended up being the plan. And not long after they got married, they had me anyway. So, it was kind of stay home and do the wife things. My mom took care of the house. She took care of me. And then 4 years later, my sister showed up. So I was taking care of her too. And they built a house and there you go. My mom had a different upbringing. My grandmother on my mom's side was one of 21 or something like that, Italian family. And it must have been hard for them. I know my grandmother as a great person. Excuse me. My grandmother, mind you, towards me and my sister, great. Loved us to death. Did things for us every time we visited. Now, mind you, my mom was from Montreal. So it was one of those things that was just every time we visited, it was such a joy. It was so much fun. It was, oh my God, couldn't wait to go every year to visit my whole family. And it truly meant a lot to me. But over the years, and as I got older, I started to see where my mom and her mom, my grandmother, used to butt heads a lot. And unfortunately for me, they would speak French. So I really didn't know what one was saying to the other. Only to find out later in life, it was usually my grandmother complaining to my mother about something she didn't bring her or something she didn't buy her or whatever. So my mom's dad passed away early. He was only 58. Excuse me. My apologies. He was only 58. He was diabetic and had multiple little heart attacks. And then finally one day a big heart attack took him, and that was the end of it. So I was about 7, I think, when he passed. But what I do remember from him is what an amazing man he was. Loving and caring. And even though he was sick, he would do whatever he could to play with me, talk with me, read me a book, whatever it was, you know. He was great from what I remember. So my mom went through a lot with her parents. My grandfather was working all the time. And again, he's an Italian as well. So he came from another family. His family was like, I don't know, one of 17, 18. I don't know. They both had big families. They were huge. And, you know, so I can imagine that being, because my mom's parents, my dad's parents, same age, basically. So, you know, where one was, you know, woman stayed home, the man worked, and you're supposed to provide for your family. My grandfather in Montreal would do the same thing. He owned his own taxi cab, and he just ran taxi 7 days a week. And that's how he took care of his family. And my grandmother stayed home and took care of my mom and her sister and in their little apartment that they had, because it was like one big apartment building of 4 apartments, and it was the 4 sisters who lived there. So my grandparents lived on the upper left side, and then my aunts all lived in the other apartments. And I can see where they, you know, some of their stuff came from. My grandfather was told, work hard, work hard, work hard, you know, and that's what he did. And my grandmother was like, oh, you got to take care of your family. So, you know, you stay home like a good wife, and you cook and you clean and, you know, do whatever you need to do, take care of your children, so on and so forth. But again, my grandmother turned out to be somebody who was a little bit of a hoarder when it came to finances. And I don't mean hoarding money, I mean hoarding material stuff. Clothing, paper towels, tissues, toilet paper, towels. When my grandmother passed away, and leading up to the time she passed away, or anytime we visited, I remember, you know, she'd say, oh, go out in the cupboard and get some paper towels. And I'd go out there and I'm going, how come your paper towels have a Lee's Market sticker on them? And she would just look at me and go, oh, well, I bought those when I was down visiting you. And I was like, because mind you, if you don't understand, Canada has a very high price on any paper product. So my grandmother would come down. Sometimes she would buy paper products like tissues, paper towels, you know, not a lot, of course, because you got to lug it back home. But she would buy some things, and I'd be like, oh, okay, anything of it. Then when we'd be home, my mom would say, hey, go in the cabinet and get, I don't know, paper towels, let's say. And I'd be like, well, there isn't any. Of course there is. There was one left in there. I'm like, no, there's none. What are you talking about? And she'd come and look like she didn't believe me. And she's like, where'd it go? I knew it was there. And mind you, a lot of times what happened was my grandmother would come down and visit, and then we would go up and visit, or vice versa, within the same month. You know what I mean? Or a lot of times what would happen, we'd go up and visit her, and then she would drive back with us because she didn't drive. And, you know, then she would take a bus home or whatever. And there was times my mom was like, go get that tablecloth. And I'm like, it's not here. And she's like, oh my God, can't you find anything? I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm looking, it's not here. And she would come in and look, and she's like, oh my God, it's not there. I'm like, I told you. She's like, where did it go? It has to be here somewhere. I'm like, I don't know. Only to find out my grandmother had taken it. If my mom went shopping and brought stuff home, she's like, you didn't buy any for me? If she had a brand new shirt on, she'd go, well, that looks new. She goes, yeah, I just picked it up at whatever store. And she's like, oh, you didn't buy me one? And it was like very connected to wanting material possessions. And I believe that's probably because she grew up with like 20 other kids. So guess what? There wasn't much. You know, when you're coming from the 1919 and 20s and whatnot, there probably was hardly anything, barely enough just to feed everybody. Never mind buying everybody a massive wardrobe. It wasn't going to happen, you know? So here it is, my grandmother in her much later years holding on to things because she wanted to have stuff, because she's never had stuff before. And she never let my grandfather stop working when he got sick because they needed the money. So she forced him out every day, and he did it. Why? Because it's his job to supply for his family. So see the craziness? And amongst all that is crazy emotions that were connected to all that. There was anger, there was sadness, there was, oh my gosh, you name it, repressed anger. So, these are the generations before us. And it's like, wow, craziness that all this stuff happened. And now you go on to back to me now. So now I had a great relationship with my mom. My mom, and I've said this before, and I'm not afraid to say it, my mom was a drinker. And it wasn't a 24/7 thing. It was more like of the closet drinker. Later in the afternoon, I'm going to have a glass of wine. Go for dinner, have a glass of wine. Until everybody went to bed, and then it got worse. It is what it is. Now, why did my mom do that? So this is where we back up. This is why I call my podcast Living Life Through Experience, because these are the experiences that happened to me, my mom, her mom, and so on and so forth, to help people to understand what really goes on in life. Instead of looking at everything through anger and judgment and anything else attached to it, look at it through the heart. Okay? I'm not saying you have to love what's happening, but have an understanding, have compassion, have empathy. That understanding goes a long way. So here we go. So I loved my mom. My mom was my best friend. We could talk every day on the phone for an hour or two, considering we lived like this far apart from one another. Always talked. Yes, she had a drinking problem. Yes, that used to upset me. As a child, I can remember dumping her drinks down the drain and making colored water with food coloring and water, helping her to hoping she would think that was her drink. And of course it wasn't, and she knew it wasn't, and therefore she kind of dumped it and poured herself a new one. So it was a losing battle in my case as a child. But I grew up taking care of my dad like a wife would, not in that crazy way. I kept house sometimes. I made dinner because she would go sleep it off, hoping to get up and be okay before he got home, and that wasn't always the case. He would come home after working 13 hours a day, and there I was warming up his dinner, waiting, because you never knew when he was coming home. He was a truck driver, so you kind of had to estimate it, So sometimes his dinner would be warming for so long that it'd be all dried up by the time he got home, and he would go and wake her up. And so here I was at 12 years old, doing wifely duties, making my dad dinner, doing dishes, checking in on my sister because she's 4 years younger. My sister doesn't remember a lot of what I remember, but 4 years is a big deal, especially when you're a child. You don't always pay attention to what's going on. So I feel I was forced to really adult at an early age, which is why people will look at me at 16 and go, my God, you're so mature. I'm like, kind of been forced into that. But I never realized that until, probably in my journey here of Sisters of Solace, you start to realize wow, wait a minute. And even then, being pushed into adulthood at an early age really just hit me last year. It really did. So, healing happens all the time. So anyway, back to my mom. Why does my mom drink? Well, it turns out my mom passed away from cancer. She had a brain cancer, lung cancer, and then it just spread her whole body, and that was the end of that. It happened really fast. It was within a period of 9 months that from finding out to treatments to dying. And in that process, as she was passing, she started saying a lot of things, especially the last month. And she looked at me and she's like, you know your grandmother never loved me, right? And I went, no, she loved you. She goes, no, she didn't. I'm like, why would you say that? She's like, how would you feel if I looked at you and said, I never wanted you? And I just gave her a look like, oh my God. She goes, well, that's what my mother told me one day. She said, I never wanted you anyway. You're broken. So for those of you who haven't heard yet or know, my mom was born with one crossed eye. Her left eye was crossed, so it folded inwards and looked at her nose, basically, which her mom refused to get fixed. She goes, no, just deal with it. You want it fixed, you go to work someday and you save the money and you fix it. I'm not spending my money on your eye. Wow. Anyway, again, my grandmother treated me great. I just had no idea how badly she treated my mom. So basically my mom was broken. She couldn't do anything right. Her sister was the golden child. Her sister could do no wrong. Her sister had a bad heart, And for her sister, they pulled out all the stops and they got her the best doctor and surgery, and she had open heart surgery and had her heart fixed and everything for her sister, nothing for her. As you know, my mom is very intuitive. I've mentioned that before, and if you didn't know, well, now you do. My mom was definitely a super intuitive, very psychic, and at the age of 13, after fighting with her mother, looked at her mother and said, in 13 years, I'm going to be gone, and I'm going to marry somebody from the United States. And her mother looked at her and said, whatever, basically. So my mother dealt with a lot of trauma at an early age. Never being good enough, never looking the way she was supposed to look, never, oh my God, so much stuff. It was sad, really. So needless to say, coming from a culture where having a glass of wine every day is not a big deal, because that's what Italians do, that's what French do, that's what a lot of traditions do. That wine went from being an afternoon wine to a dinner wine to an all-the-time wine to hard stuff to, oh my God. And why? Because she was trying to drown out the anger, the sadness, the not cry. My mom cried? No, never happened. I don't remember ever seeing my mom cry. I don't know why. I really don't. So yeah, I mean, all that repressed anger came out and killed her eventually. It really did. Because, I looked up, because you know me, I'm a very firm believer in emotions create physical ailment. And everything my mom had, I looked up, and every single one was repressed anger. From her psoriasis to her eczema to her cancer to, oh my God, her always having a cold and cold sores and fever blisters and, you name it. Whatever my mom had over the years, I looked it up and every single one had the same common denominator. So emotions are a big thing. We should not suppress those. Not at all. My dad, I'm sure, went through stuff as well. But again, he suppressed a lot of, as much as any other man, I'm sure, of that era. Did he suppress it enough to end up sick like my mom? No. He had his own issues. But everything was very quiet. And I never knew why my mother was like that until later. But it turns out my mom was like that already when my dad met her. Isn't that sad? She was already like that when he met her. And it was like, wow. And I think the only thing that changed her for a short amount of time was the fact that she was having me. And then she had my sister. But the drinking just got worse over the years after that. And it was like, wow, I had no idea. No idea. Now, I used to get mad at my mom. I used to have very judgmental feelings about her lifestyle and why she was the way she was and why would she do that. I didn't understand. Now I do. So big thing on emotions is don't judge people until you know what's behind their door. Don't tell anybody how to tie their shoelaces unless you've walked in their shoes, right? So have things been tough? Oh God, yeah. Have patterns happened? Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Some of the patterns of upbringing travel from grandparents to parents to, kids. And now I'm the parent. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's gone. It's just me and my sister now, and then my kids. So yes, I have 3 other half siblings, and I have, cousins and whatnot, but we're not close. So it's kind of like, it feels very small, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay, because for me personally, I feel like I'm living my life with a lot of, knowledge, understanding. Can I be human and be stupid sometimes and get judgmental? Sure I can. But then I remind myself, wait a minute, back up. That wasn't called for. There's probably a reason why this is happening. There's a reason why this person is going through what they're going through. There's a reason why they're feeling the way they're feeling. And I just have to honor that and let them work it out. That it takes a lot to get to this point, But again, I'm not perfect. I'm human. So I have my moments, but I have a way better understanding now about emotional stuff than I ever did in my life. And that's why I want to bring this experience to you. So my thing for you is, do you work out your emotional things, your thoughts, your feelings, your, oh my God, sadness, grief, anger, whatever it may be? Do you get it out in the open with someone or a counselor, a therapist, a journal, anything? Or do you hold it all in? And if you do hold it in, why? Is that what you were taught? Do you personally feel like you would be a disappointment to everyone else if you showed how weak you are? And I say that lightly because I don't necessarily mean you are weak, because you know what? You're not. You just think you are. This is what I remind everybody. I had somebody, my ex-husband. Yeah. He was acting very depressive. And I kept trying to get him to open up, say something, what's going on, why are you being like this? And he just, well, of course, narcissists are good player actors anyway. But anyhow, different story. I looked at him one day, I'm like, look, if you're not going to talk to me and I'm your wife, then go talk to your sister. And right away he looked and his eyes got huge and he was like, I can't do that. And I'm like, why not? That's your sister. Who else could you talk to? She's, flesh and blood, right? No, I can't do that. You know why? Because it makes me look weak. And I went, wow. My understanding was the strongest thing you could ever do is ask for help. Not the weakest. The weakest thing you do is suppress everything and go hide in a corner and isolate. That's weakness. That means your energy is not up where it should be, not strong enough to get you up and out of what you're doing or what you're feeling. Is it a bad thing? Of course, it's bad and it's not bad. It happens. That's what I feel like. It happens. We all go through these different things that, yes, in the moment, maybe for a few days or weeks, maybe even a few months, we might feel suppressed. We might feel isolated. We may feel, I can't get through this. I don't want any help. Go away. Leave me alone. Yeah, it happens. It's part of the process. The bad part is when you get stuck there. Don't get stuck. Let people in. Let people help you. People help you because they love you. Remember that. So yes, there's been a lot of emotional upheaval for people. From your grandparents, great-grandparents, parents, yourself. And then even moving into your kids, if you have kids yet. It's one of those things, it's like, what is going on? You see the changes. It's so wild. Like, I think my grandparents, okay, which is my kids' great-grandparents, right? So I look at them and I go, wow, life was really hard. Life was very suppressed. Life was no emotions other than happiness, sadness on occasion, love to get married, and love for your children, and pretty much it. And then, to your parents who are a little more open, but not by a lot. Then personally for me, very open. My rule that I made for myself was that when I had children, I was going to be very open with my kids. I was going to be very honest with my kids. I wanted an open relationship with them where they could talk to me about anything. And when I say that, I mean that honestly. And believe me, they have had conversations with me that my mother would have probably gone, whoa, too much information. I don't want to know that. We're an open book, basically. Yes, is there things that they don't tell me? Sure, because they're adults and, they have their reasons. But again, it's like, if they got something going on, they can say, hey, Mom, can I talk to you? And they can talk to me about whatever it is, okay? And like I've said, we've had those conversations. So, big change. big change. So I've taught my kids to be open, be honest, express their feelings. Excuse me. I can remember when my kids were small, one of my girls did not know how to, when she got angry, how to express those emotions, which a lot of kids don't, and we forget. And right away we're like, stop crying. I'll give you something to cry about. Or if that's how you're going to behave, go to your room. I don't want to deal with you. And what does that kid feel like after that, right? One of my girls one day, it was so funny. She was just having a fit and a half, yelling. And I was like, whoa. I see you're having an issue at the moment that you need to work on. So tell you what, why don't you go upstairs? You can yell into a pillow. You can punch your pillow, get all your frustration out. And when you've calmed down, you and I can sit and talk. And that's what she did. And of course, she storms upstairs and she goes and does her thing. Now, mind you, her father's home. And he says, what is she doing? She's crazy. I'm like, she's not crazy. I told her to do that. Well, that's stupid. Why are you going to do that? I says, would you rather she run around the house screaming and punching walls or hitting you or hitting me or hitting one of her siblings? Or would you let her just get it all out and let her calm down so I can talk to her? That's stupid. I don't know what kind of parenting class you took. And I was like, wow. But again, my ex came from one of those households where suppressed emotions. You don't express yourself. You don't, there's no crying. There's no this. There's no that. There's no hugging. There's oh my gosh. So anywho. And that worked out well for me and her. It really did. She went upstairs. She screamed into a pillow. She punched it a few times. About 10 or 15 minutes later, I noticed it was quiet. I knocked on the door and I went in and we talked. And that's what it was, a conversation. It was not a yelling match. So you got to figure out what works for you and what doesn't, So I've taught my kids, it's okay to cry. Because again, I would catch myself when they were little. I'm like, oh, don't cry. Because a mom never wants to see her kids cry, right? So they fall down, they cry. Oh my God, don't cry. I'll fix it. It's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It'll feel better. It'll be fine. I started catching myself and changing what I was saying because I want my kids to express their feelings. I want my kids to open up and talk to me when they need to talk to me. I don't want them to feel less than worthy because they feel like their emotions shouldn't be heard, right? So, excuse me. Allowing your kids to open up. Allow your kids to talk. And when your kids talk, don't talk over them. Allow them to express. Excuse me. Allow yourself to be the ears, to listen. Listen to hear them. Don't listen to respond. And I know you've probably heard that before. Listen to hear them. Take the time to hold the space for them and allow them to tell you what's going on. And this goes for your kids. This goes for grandkids. This goes for people. It really does. It goes for everybody. And it really should. Again, many times we do. We listen to respond. We don't listen to hear what they're saying. So emotions, of course, are a big thing, again, not suppressing them, not holding them in, and me, my famous dungeon behind you, it's something happens and instead of processing it, we kind of swallow it and it goes down to that dungeon and we lock the door. Excuse me, jeez. All this talking, that's why. Anyway, so instead of locking all your emotions down in the dungeon, suppressing them, okay? We need to deal with them. But the number one problem is dealing with emotional stuff. It hurts. And people would rather deal with physical pain than emotional pain. So when emotional pain hits, right away we suppress, we stop crying, we stop expressing, and we swallow it, and it goes down in the dungeon, and we lock the door, and we don't deal with it anymore. Nope, I'm done. I'm okay. Right? But at the same time, I tell people, so think about this. If you are sick, if the doctor looks at you and goes, look, you need this surgery because XYZ, whatever, and, there's going to be a good, 6-week healing afterwards, just to be mindful that this is what's going to happen. You might need therapy, physical therapy, so on and so forth. And you're like, yeah, let's do this. Let's fix it. So you go through the surgery, everything goes well, and now you're in pain, but it's okay because the pain's going to go away. Every day it's going to get better, right? And maybe you're taking some pain meds, so it helps to lessen the pain a bit. Okay, great. Now it's the PT, it's tough, but hey, look at this. I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger, I'm doing my thing. And after 6 weeks of therapy, you're like, wow, I'm at like 90%. I feel amazing. Trauma hits, grief, sadness, anger, breakups, losses, whatever it is. It hits. And again, we take it, we swallow it, down in the dungeon, lock it up, done. Why? Because it hurts too much to deal with it. Okay. So if you were to deal with it as if it was a physical issue, you would approach it, you would talk about it, you would think about it. If it hurts too much, you would do things to lessen the pain, such as journaling, meditation, going for a walk, going for therapy. Those are your pills, okay, right there. Which, okay, I got to talk about it. I got some of it out. I feel a little better. Then again, you go for therapy again. Could be a counselor, could be a therapist of sorts, whatever it is. I've done some journaling. I've done some talk. I've done some breath work. I've done some Reiki. I've done whatever I can do. It's helping to lessen the pain. Now I'm starting to feel better. Is it still there? Sure, it's still there, but I'm working on it. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? We will suffer through so much physical pain to get better, but we won't do it for our emotions or our mental state. Why is that? Because you know what? You can suppress emotions. You can't suppress physical pain. That's why. But let me tell you, suppressing that emotional pain will get you nowhere but physically sick. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Stress, anxiety, trauma, drama, illness, you name it, all these things, breakups, so on and so forth, grief, you got to work through it. You've got to work through it in order to release it. So my suggestions, how do I release it? Because, again, we've gone through so many generations of my God, through repressed emotion. Isn't it time to stop doing that? We're living in an era now, in a generation where it's okay to open up. Mental health is a real thing. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It means you're going through a lot right now. Emotional health is a big thing. Physical health, even your spiritual health, whatever that may be for you, is a big deal. And everybody is open for you towards anything you're doing. And if they're not, too bad. Not your problem, right? So think about that. Work on your emotional stuff. What can I do when I'm going through grief? Okay, breakups, that's always number one, right? Breakups and grief, either one, it's grief. What can you do? Cry. Allow yourself to cry. Does it mean you're a baby? No. Okay, you're not a baby if you cry. And I know it's hard to cry because I was suppressed for many years. You're not supposed to cry. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Crying is a part of your emotions. Use it. And if anybody says anything, fuck them. How's that? Plain and simple. Because you should be sick and tired of living through society's standards just to make everyone else happy but yourself. Right? Right. Cry. Get it out. Talk to somebody. Journal. Meditate. Go for a walk. Go sit by the ocean. Sit outside on a beautiful day. Close your eyes. Just listen to the sounds of nature and let nature's sounds bring healing to your body. Go for a massage. Go for a Reiki session. Go to a sound bath. I do them every month. They're amazing, right? Sound vibration can heal. It can help so much. So can Reiki. So can many of the things I'm mentioning. There's so many things you could do. Go to the gym, work out, do yoga, do Tai Chi, do whatever you got to do. But don't just sit and stew in those emotions. Because someday that dungeon's going to be so damn full, it's going to explode. And when it does, it's not going to be pretty. Because you're going to be so sick. Physically sick. So how do you want to end your life? Or I should say, how do you want your life to end? Let me rephrase my apologies. How do you want your life to end? I know I want mine to end on a note of happiness and joy and memories and laughter and the memories of my kids, my grandkids, maybe great grandkids. I don't know how long I'm going to live. I say 94, but we'll see what they have to say, right? When I die, I want to know that I did something in this world, that I served a purpose, that I did what I wanted to do, that I was happy because I allowed myself to be happy. I want to know that my life was well worth it. Now you could have that, or you could die laying in a hospital bed somewhere saying, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. I wish I had done that differently. I should have. I could have. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, doesn't matter, right? Only thing that matters is what you did. You either do or you don't. There's no in between, right? So think about that. Don't suppress your emotions. Don't make other people suppress their emotions. If you find that that's an old thought in your head and you catch yourself doing it, stop yourself immediately and say, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. What I meant to say was, it's okay. Allow yourself to cry. Tell me what's going on. I'm here for you, whatever it may be. Do not suppress emotions. Do not tell other people to suppress their emotions. Be a loving being who is caring and empathetic and somebody who has a lot of compassion for yourself as well as others. And be that ear to listen, to hear them. Right? And by all means, if you need the same thing, you go out and you find that. And if you can't find it from a friend or a family member, then find it from a counselor. Find it from your spiritual person. Find it wherever you can find it. But even if it has to only be between you and a piece of paper right now, or you and God, then do that. Do that. Yes, you're going to hurt. That's life. You're going to physically hurt at times. You're going to emotionally hurt at times. You're going to mentally hurt at times. But you know what? It's part of the learning process. So learn what you need to learn through those things in that moment and then heal it. Mind, body, and soul. Don't hold on, because holding on will only hurt you. Be happy, be light, be love. So that is our podcast this week. I hope it was helpful for you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Also, look, guys, if you have any questions you want to ask me, by all means, send them to sistersofsolace@yahoo.com. Send them in the comments for Spotify or in YouTube, or hit me up on social media. And you can message Sisters of Solace there. I mean, we're on all the platforms, so you shouldn't have a problem finding us. But yeah, I mean, thanks so much. I mean, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I enjoy doing these. I find that when you're passionate about something, talking about it is so easy. So again, sorry for all the coughing today. I shouldn't have to apologize, but I'm going to apologize. I'm so sorry. Again, hopefully by next week, this is all gone, cleared up, So quick note before we go. Here we are. So, there we go. Can you see it? Guilt, right? It's so funny. Orange, emotions, sacral chakra, right? Guilt. That's what we feel if we try to do something for ourselves. Emotionally, right? Yeah, but I shouldn't because, it's not right and I feel guilty and Don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty. Your emotions are yours. It's up to you to heal them. And if somebody else doesn't like that, again, I'm going to say it. Forgive me. Fuck it. Right? Plain and simple. So happy Thursday. Happy gratitude. Have a great week. Send me your questions and I see you guys next week. Have a great one. Take care.